So that's a 70% real loss in purchasing power from the appraisal value back in 2022 in 3 years. How can you lose money that fast? Well, you can in Canadian real estate, but they told you, oh my God, it is so safe. This is the safest investment you'll ever make. Oh, they were wrong badly. They told you the housing market was fine, but the reality is it's absolutely collapsing, and we're going to get to a loss of a staggering 77%, which is absolutely insane, and just some crazy charts which will show you what is going on as this property bubble implodes and compare it to another bubble that has already imploded. So let's start off with what's going on here with Shazzy Goalie once again putting on these staggering losses here. So you can see it's just another power of sale. Another person has lost their home, and they bought back in 2017 for 1.48 million, and they just sold it power of sale for $1,030,000. So just think about the inflation from 2017 to 2025. So that is a 30% nominal loss. So without inflation, it's a 30% loss. But then if you add on even just a bit of inflation, what I did is I used Gemini here to compound the inflation rate from 2022, not from 2017. And you can see it's around 18%. So let's just call it 20% to make the math easier. And that puts you at least a 50% real loss. The likelihood is it's 60-70% of their money in purchasing power has been lost investing in this housey Ponzi scheme. And as Hilliard is pointing out, you know, this is crazy, which came out of one of the CMHC reports. And you can see here 17% apparently missed a mortgage payment. So that is huge financial stress levels, as we know. And the reality is, when you look at what's happened so far, the default rates they're telling you are less than 1%, but apparently 17% have missed a mortgage payment. So what is going on there in the financial system? I've told you those default rate numbers are rigged anyways. Mortgage delinquency numbers from the Canadian Bankers Association are complete BS. But as you can see here, it was at 2.5% in 2005. It was at 6.5% in the 1990s. But again, once you look at that Bankers Association data, it just basically says a complete opposite story to what we would expect. So obviously there is something going on there. We don't know exactly what it is. When you consider the default rates in 2008 were around 15-16% at the peak, and they're at 17% right now. It's absolutely crazy. And you can see here 26% use one credit facility to pay off another. We've talked about this so many times on the channel, and it's really not just happening with mortgage payments. It's happening with rent. It's happening with car payments. It's happening with business loan payments. And then you've got desperate buyer loses his job day before closing. Mortgage advisor whispers, just hide it from the bank. And once again, this just shows you the risk in the financial system, because the incentives and the moral hazards that the banks have to just not do their due diligence is there. And this is exactly it. Lost job before closing. What will happen if I didn't close the deal? My friend is closing on June 30th and he lost his job today. His mortgage application is with Scotiabank and yet to receive the approval. The mortgage advisor is asking to hide it from the bank for the time being. What should he do? And that just goes to show the mortgage advisor, you know, these brokers, even the brokers who work at the banks, they are just very, very incentivized to obviously get these mortgages through so they can get their commission. And the whole system is really broken. And it's what people don't see until it's too late down the road when they're wondering, why aren't prices going up yet? Well, this is because there's so much malinvestment in the market. This is a huge monumental loss here. So it's a big house. It's in Hamilton. Absolutely insane value. It was bought for $3.25 million in 2022. I mean, that's just insane for Hamilton. Hamilton is not a very nice place. I mean, it's not a very nice city. It's certainly not Barbados or the Cayman Islands. Like, what the fuck? When are people going to wake up and think, hold on a second, why are prices in Barbados lower than in Hamilton, which is a complete shithole in comparison. But people don't think it. It's a massive bubble, obviously. And they just say, oh, it's immigration or world-class city bullshit, whatever it is. So again, 3.25 million down to 1.85 million. I mean, this is a huge loss. This is a 43% loss in nominal terms, which doesn't really matter unless you're just following price action. But if you're talking about in real terms, as we know from this Gemini calculation, if we round it up to 20%, and this is using the CPI, remember, the CPI isn't even that accurate, and we're going to go ahead and say it's a 62% real loss. And it's the real loss, it's the purchasing power that is declining that really matters there, and you're really beginning to see that in the market. And this one is just staggering and comes from John Flynn. Check out the timeline on this house I just sold. 2022, the bank appraised it for 2.1 million. Fast forward to 2025 and it sold for 900k after 8 months on the market. So from the appraisal, that's a 57% nominal loss. So that's a 70% real loss in purchasing power from the appraisal value back in 2022 in 3 years. How can you lose money that fast? Well, you can in Canadian real estate, but they told you, oh my God, it is so safe. This is the safest investment you'll ever make. Everything just goes on forever. You know, this immigration bubble will continue forever. Everything, nothing ever comes to an end. Oh, they were wrong badly. They were just wrong in a catastrophic way, which is destroying people's livelihoods right now. And people got greedy. They got really greedy, and they're paying the price for it now. People are paying the price for that. And you've got more power of sales. I mean, we just keep seeing it. Power sale, power sale, power sale, foreclosure. More and more banks are taking properties away from homeowners, and you're going to continue to see this because this has been really amplified, and John Flynn's stats that he's posting on a monthly basis to show it. And that's really just from the keywords in one real estate board. It really doesn't show you that whole picture, but it gives you an understanding and an idea of what's going on here. And now I want to compare something to the past. I saw this in a Telegraph article, and I thought, you know, I tweeted it out as well because I thought it's just a real cool chart to show people in Canada what the fuck is about to happen. And this is what really people don't understand is about to happen, is you're going to see that investing in housing is going to be a terrible investment. If you ask the average person in the UK right now, have housing prices gone up since 2008? They would say yes, of course they have gone up. They're very, very expensive. But in reality, in real terms, and this is adjusted for the CPI, guys, so a fake CPI. So it's way worse in actual real terms, which people are really feeling. And that's why it's a depression in reality, is the fact that prices, look at them on this chart. They have not surpassed the 2007 peak. So you have just seen prices in real terms that have not passed that. They tried to, but they failed, and they continue to go down. So this is going to show you what's going to happen. And the scary thing is if you look at this one chart, because there's barely any, in fact, this is the only one I can find. Canadian housing market bubble doesn't have that much data points. Really annoying. This is coming from the Americans, actually. Elbows up, everybody. Just fucking so ridiculous, isn't it? But they put this chart together, which I think is fantastic. Data lags quite a lot, so it's only good till the third quarter of 2024. But we do know that the housing market hasn't got any better since then. Slightly better maybe in Q4 2024. But now heading into Q3 2025, we've seen 2 quarters that have been negative. We know that for sure. And you can see that real residential property prices in Canada had this massive slam down. And that's what I want you to focus on, because after 2008, look what happened in the UK. A huge, massive slam down. And here's the thing. Here is the key takeaway from this video. They called this the recession. That's what the central planners called this time period here, the recession. But the reality is the depression was here, and I experienced it myself firsthand in the real economy as well. This is the depression. They will say, oh, the recession's over, and that means the depression has begun. And and you're going to be hearing this very soon. Many people lied to you, telling you that housing was the safest investment that you could possibly make. The reality is, it is destroying people more and more. You are seeing loss after loss after loss, and it's just going to continue to happen as this housing market implodes, and as more and more people will realize that actually their purchasing power put in housing was a disaster, and it really was. So anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, I'd highly recommend that you check out this video here, and if you're looking for a VPN and also want to help support my work, then go to expressvpn.com/marketmania, link in the description, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys.